Cities need to be sitting down with world leaders at the United Nations. It's the sort of the mega venue for these sorts of things. So through the United Nations, cities need to have a voice at that table. Cities also need to be present in the climate change negotiations, and probably also in the international framework around international trade. Because so much of international trade has an influence on what happens in cities and where their procurement practices and et cetera. And so I would say that those three venues are critical: the United Nations, the climate change negotiations, and the international trade framework. On issues like climate change, cities do not have as much influence as they should. Some of the barriers in the Canadian context are the Constitution, which just creates a very difficult dynamic for the federal government to engage the municipalities directly in the formulating of national positions for international negotiations. Second barrier would be just a simple lack of resources. If you look at European cities, they're very engaged internationally because they have the resources. In addition to whatever national framework they've got the resources through a different kind of revenue base, a different tax base. So that's the second barrier. The third barrier is that the Canadian public doesn't see the cities, the mayors, for example, as international actors. Municipalities are international actors. Mayors are international actors. It is a given. Cities and towns are the destination of the transfers of capital and human and financial capital. It's the destination of immigration. Inevitably, immigrants who are settled in Canada have relations back in some other community, so there are inevitable links across international boundaries between cities. Some of them community level, a lot of them very official. And the other important piece is that cities learn from each other. So if Vancouver, for example, is trying to do something different around its work on climate change mitigation, it's going to look to Copenhagen, or it's going to look to another European city. So it is inevitable that for cities to do things better, they have to look at what their colleagues are doing around the world.